All right, let's see. Last but not least, Frederick Wu, Mr. Wu. All right, this is 22 CP 206-649, computer invasion of privacy. Anything I need to know, Bostic?
What is his request? First, is he requesting to be off pretrial or what? Because it's been closed on pretrial.
I mean, we'd love to be off pretrial, Your Honor. At this point, we're just asking for the ability to personal travel. But I mean, coming off pretrial may be appropriate given it's been 15 months. It's not that serious a charge.
Yeah. So
that's the thing. It was closed on pretrial in November, actually. I'm sorry, Miss Grandy.
So we'll take so we'll take him off pretrial, right? Because he's off there. Right, Bostic?
Yeah, that case was closed in pretrial November 30th of 2022 because of the standing order.
All right. So where's he want to travel, Mr. Timmons?
Just personally, Judge, he has no plans right now, but I mean, I'm paid by the hour. And so it's a lot easier for him if he could just travel and not force me to come back every single time. In a nutshell, Your Honor, he resides in Georgia. The victim resides in Georgia. So to the extent he's traveling personally, I guess the victim would be even safer if he was out of town. As far as we're concerned, it's a minor charge. We plan on fighting it. Judge, I have one criminal case. This is it. And the only cases that I'll take on the criminal side is if my client is absolutely innocent, which is the case in this particular case. We have an affidavit from an expert that indicates that the detective lied in his warrant. We actually brought that to the Public Integrity Unit in Fulton County. The detective stated that my client used a SIM card for a different phone number to invade the privacy of the victim. Our expert, who's a computer expert, I believe is extensive degrees, extensive experience, will tell you that you cannot look at somebody's personal information by having a cell phone with the same number. And we kind of all know that because there's no new phone numbers under the sun. I just got a new SIM card for a cell phone. It was somebody else's phone number. I get some of their calls, but I can't invade their personal information by having that cell phone. So the crime at the alleged computer invasion of privacy by Mr. Wu getting a hold of a SIM card and using that to invade this person's privacy is a legal and practical and factual impossibility. Mr. Wu's corporation has retained me. They've also retained former U.S. attorney of the Northern District, former U.S. attorney of the Middle District, and the first general counsel of the Department of Homeland Security to represent as co-counsel from the Womble Bond firm as well. We plan on fighting these charges. If we can't get the DA's office's attention, we'll listen. I suspect once we get a chance to actually talk to somebody, and I'd love to talk to Mr. Malkin about it, and happy to send him the affidavit from our expert, but this is one that needs to go away. And so in the meantime, Your Honor, we're requesting simply at this point that he can travel without us having to come to the court and say, okay, he's planning on going on a vacation to Florida on this particular time. When it doesn't make any sense. Right now, he's able to travel for work. If he was a flight risk, he'd just say he was traveling for work and, disappear at that particular time. And he's been traveling for work all the way along. So this is sort of a nuisance requirement on bond rather than anything that's serving any particular purpose. So given that, Your Honor, we're requesting that he be allowed to travel for personal without having to come to the court every single time that he wants to take a trip.
So, Mr. Malkin, I mean, some of these I've definitely made it. All they had to do was like let you know when they were going somewhere, as opposed to coming back and getting an order. What do you?
Right. Good evening, Mr. Timmons.
Hello, Mr. Malkin. Wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you as well. And is this a situation where he could turn in his passport?
No, he's not. He hasn't turned in his passport. He's not forbidden from international travel. It's one of those things where we have to come back to court to have him travel. If he was a flight risk, he would have disappeared 15 months ago.
Does he need to travel internationally, or could he turn in his passport and then be able to travel?
My experience with turning in passports, having been in a district attorney's office for 17 years, is that those passports never seem to make it back to the people who have them. And it's a giant
Timmons,
pain.
I know that you're reliable, that you would lock that in your safe at your office.
I'm sure we did, Judge, but you know how those evidence rooms get over time where people go to find something.
You keep it at your office, like you.
Oh, I'm happy to keep. Sure, I can keep it at my office. That's fine. That's not a problem.
I think that's what he's asking, right, Mr. Malkin? That his passport will be surrendered to Mr. Timmons, and that way.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, would that work? Okay.
Sure, that's fine. And then I'll just notify your office if he plans on traveling internationally.
I think then he would want permission.
Sure,
then-
if he wants internationally, but I think right now he's just like looking to go to Florida or California or places like that. I mean, if we could travel domestically and then come for permission on an international trip, that I think that would work.
I don't think I have an issue with that, Chris. And yeah, if he wants to travel internationally, then we'll probably have to revisit that with the judge. But for domestic, why don't you take possession of his passport, lock it in your safe, and don't give it back to him without court permission? We're good.
Sure, that works for me.
Okay. All
And
right.
I'm sure it will work for Mr. Wu. That gets us a little farther down the line. But yeah, I mean, I am serious about getting somebody to look at this case at some point because it really is. It is a legal impossibility for him to do that. The detective signed a warrant, swore under the penalty of perjury that this happened, and said that he knew computers well enough to say that this could happen, and that's a lie. And I've prosecuted when I was the head of the public integrity unit, DeKalb County. I prosecuted for detectives for doing the exact same thing, which is why I went to the Fulton DA's office's unit about it. It's just a shame that with COVID that this case has hung around for 15 months.
All right, you can just send me that bond modification. Stick around, Mr. Timmons, for a second. We'll talk to you about something else. Oh, not
Sure. Happy
All right.
to. I'll stop billing you, Mr. Wu. We're good.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. I think that's it, right?
That's it.
That's it, Judge.
All right.
Subscribe.